all the talk in the build up to this one was about Liverpool being potentially able to boost their goal difference in the Premier League title race, but didn't quite work out like that, with Liverpool coming away with a hard fought 3-1 victory over the bottom club Sheffield United in the end. I say hard fought because it was a really tight one, and they were even going into the last hour of the game, with Sheffield United clawing it back, and Liverpool hadn't really looked at the best throughout the game up to that point, so it really did look in doubt whether Liverpool were actually going to come away with 3 points, which before kick-off in this one you would have said was it was a formality that Liverpool would win this game, but really put through the ringer by Sheffield United. Quite an impressive performance from them, you have to say. It's been a difficult season for them so far, but they really showed what they're about here and made it physical and difficult for Liverpool and really tested them, as I say. And I think there were signs really throughout the game up until the point that Sheffield United equalised that Liverpool weren't quite at the best tonight. I mean, they get the goal from Nunez, brilliant moment of closing down, but aside from that, hadn't really opened Sheffield United up. And unless you get that second goal, it can always be a little bit hairy, can't it, until you're waiting for that. And if you leave an opposition team that's in the Premier League in a game for that long, then there's every chance that they punish you. And they were starting to get moments of encouragement on the break and from set pieces that was giving them hope that they get back in it. And then, as I say, just close to the hour mark, they do get back in it, and then it's a real test of Liverpool. What can you do about that? And I thought Sheffield United from that point on were trying to break the game up, going down with injuries, trying to slow it down, and that all of a sudden you're quite close to the end of the game, and Liverpool were struggling to find a winner. And it's a real test of mettle and mentality at that point, isn't it? And Liverpool, fortunately, there's one thing we know about them, is they don't always have to play well, do they, to win football games, and they're definitely not a vintage performance for them tonight, but they kept going, they kept trying, they kept making it difficult, and they get a little bit of fortune with the way the ball breaks, and Alexis Mac Allister with an utterly world-class finish. So from that point on, I think that kind of broke Sheffield United's spirits. I don't think they expected that they'd be able to score a second goal here, and obviously Liverpool wrap it up with the third through Cody Gakpo. But I thought, as I say, real test of mental strength for Liverpool that they've come through. And I think in a title race, yes, it's nice to get the easy wins sometimes, and this would have been a candidate for one of those easy wins, wasn't it? A game against a team that sat bottom of the Premier League, but also, there's different ways of winning football matches, and I think there is a boost, isn't there, involved in winning a game in this way, showing that you can fight, showing that you can win games late on, and showing your quality that you've got off the bench throughout the squad as well. That's absolutely something that's worth mentioning here, as much as the mentality is that Liverpool have got real strength in depth. And I thought every single substitution that Jurgen Klopp made in this game made Liverpool a better team and made them play better, and that is why they end the game in sort of dominant fashion. And I think very much this is one way you look at to praise the manager, but also maybe mention the fact that Liverpool's squad is getting better, it's getting healthier, isn't it? They're getting players back, and that maybe had a big influence in terms of them being able to run out winners here against a Sheffield United side who showed that they're not ready to give up the Premier League status without a fight. So yeah, a good win, if not as convincing as we might have hoped for from Liverpool's perspective, but they all count for 3 points, don't they? And this is 3 points that puts Liverpool back on top of the Premier League table, which is all that they needed to do really going into that trip to Old Trafford at the weekend. Now, as usual, I'm going to go through the players and talk about individual performances. I'll start with Quiveen Kelleher. I thought he was very unlucky with the way the goal went in. You see the replays, there's a big deflection off Bradley to take it in, and unfortunate really that it just goes through his legs. I think if the header had been on target, he kind of had it covered off. That was the only way that Sheffield United were going to score there, so no criticism for him around that. He also makes 3 saves in the game, a couple of those decent ones that he collects low down. His handling so good, and also a 97% passing accuracy, which is unusually high for a goalkeeper, given that sometimes the ball has to go long. It just shows you how much he wanted to play, wanted to keep the ball for Liverpool, and that was very much the approach, rather than putting it in the mixer and making it easy for Sheffield United to get the ball back. Liverpool were keeping it, and Quiveen Kelleher, we know he's great with his feet, and absolutely showed that tonight. Now moving into the defence, I'll start at right back just as it's starting to rain here, so I'm squinting a little bit, just getting a bit of rain blown into the stands. And I talk about Conor Bradley, as I say, around the own goal, no blame on him for that one, very unlucky. And he wins 5 out of his 9 duels, which is around his usual. Maybe sometimes he's a little bit higher than that, so did well on the defensive side. But I thought on the attacking side we maybe saw a quieter game from Conor Bradley than we're used to. I mean, against Brighton, you can remember he was nearly the most influential player in the game, particularly in that early stages, with the amount of the ball he saw in a creative sense and the threat he was creating down that right hand side. But it didn't quite happen for him a little bit on that side of things. 0 chances created in this game, which is quite low for him. He's usually such a threat, but I suppose that's, it's a new test, isn't it, for him, coming up against what was basically a back five with 3 midfielders sat in front of them. That is very difficult to break down and find space, even if you're a more experienced player. So, a new test for him there, and one that he kind of struggled with a little bit, but it's all part of the learning process. And as I say, didn't disgrace himself defensively, kept to his job, and he was always a willing runner down the outside or coming into those inside positions to make space for others. So no criticism of him, even if it wasn't quite as influential a game as we've maybe seen from Conor Bradley before. Now, talk about next to him in the centre halves, Ibrahima Konate, and looking at the numbers here, it shows you just how busy he was. 8 out of 11 aerial duels won, which is a fantastic sort of ratio to win, but it just shows you how much they were trying to target him down that side, and how much Sheffield United were trying to put the ball in the mixer, and from set pieces as well. They were trying to make it long, and 2 out of 4 ground duels won as well. I thought he was really, really composed in his defending, wins the aerial duels, as I say, and there's a deep intake of breath when he goes down in the second half. You're praying he doesn't get an injury again, and unfortunately he came through that one okay, so should be fit for the trip to Old Trafford. But it just shows he's very important. I think a good chance for him to come back in tonight and be tested and get his rhythm back up, because he's been out of the side for a few games now, hasn't he? So good to see him back in and performing well, because he absolutely had to when Sheffield United were threatening aerially as they did tonight. Now, Virgil van Dijk alongside him, kind of interesting here. This again shows you just how busy Konate was. 0 out of 1 aerial duels won. So Sheffield United were just not putting the ball anywhere near Van Dijk if they could avoid it. He does win 2 out of 2 ground duels, but I thought what he always does when he's not involved in the game defensively, that's going to happen. Teams don't want to go near him, is that he's influential on the ball, and he definitely did that today. Some of his passes, 98 out of 100 passes completed, which is phenomenal. I mean, you don't have to be great at maths to know that's 98%, but that really, really tidy with the ball. And also 9 out of 9 long balls, which again, that was what Liverpool needed to move Sheffield United about. It didn't quite work out for them perfectly today in terms of their attacking game, wasn't absolutely firing, but Van Dijk was trying to get things stretched, trying to move them out of the shape. So he was contributing, even if he didn't have a load to do defensively. Now I'll move into the final fullback in the defence now, and that's Joe Gomez. And I thought his numbers are quite decent here. 4 out of 7 duels won, 2 chances created, and he has a couple of shots as well, one where he's kind of unlucky to drag it slightly. So not a poor game by any means, but I thought one of the things, Sheffield United found it easy to marshal him in onto the outside towards his weaker foot. They didn't want him cutting in and trying to create like that, and they did a good job of forcing him there. I always thought, in games like this where you're up against a mass defence, it's so much better, as good as Joe Gomez has been at left back, it's so much better to have a natural left footer down that side, I would say, to really stretch them and create width in your attack. And that is, it's not something you blame Joe Gomez for, absolutely not his fault, and Andy Robertson obviously not fit to start, but it's something that I think the manager maybe has to think about going forward across the remainder of this season. In games where it's going to be a mass defence, do you not really need a left footer down that side? And obviously Andy Robertson's fit and okay after his injury. Maybe he should be starting more of these kinds of games. We'll have to see the decision he makes there, because obviously he's also got Kostas Tsimikas, so really spoilt for choice down that left hand side. Now, moving to the midfield, I start with the holding midfielder, which was Alexis Mac Allister with Wataru Endo out, and again, not quite as influential as he's been in past weeks, because he's not in that advanced role where he's, Liverpool got so adept at finding him and him being the main orchestrator of the attacks, but still absolutely world class today in everything he did. 6 out of 10 duels won, 7 recoveries. So the defensive side of the game, he's not a natural holding midfielder, but he's still brilliant when he plays there, and also he's still contributing on the attacking side. 2 chances created, 3 shots, and the goal is out of this world. The quality of the finish, I mean, Liverpool get a bit lucky with the way the ball breaks to Alexis Mac Allister, but there is nothing lucky about that finish. He cuts across it beautifully, and it's about as top corner as I've ever seen a strike. Absolutely beautiful, and just continues his incredible run of form that he's on recently. I mean, hopefully Liverpool get good news on Endo and he can be back for Manchester United, because I still think you want Mac Allister in that advanced role, but he still showed how versatile versatile and brilliant he is today in that holding midfield role, and so dominant even when he's out of position. I thought he was absolutely brilliant. Arguably I would put him down as man of the match actually. Another brilliant performance from him, and we're just getting used to them now. I'll move into the guys who were ahead of him in the 8s. Gravenberch get a rare opportunity to come in. He obviously hadn't started since the Carabao Cup final, so good to see him back fit. And I didn't think he had a poor performance, but again, not heavily involved in everything as you might have liked. I mean, he gets 2 shots and a couple of moments of really nice feet that he shows. We know he's sharp around the box sometimes. He can shift the ball and move people, and he creates a couple of shots for himself doing that, but 0 chances created. Got in a couple of promising positions where he might have done more. Still, he kept working at it. 4 out of 7 duels won is not too bad at all. But I think the difference in terms of his influence was sort of shown by the fact he only attempts 33 passes to Alexis Mac Allister's 87. Now you're going to see more of the ball in the holding midfield role with the way Liverpool build up, but I still think it shows that Gravenberch wasn't as involved as he might have liked to have been. But as I say, not a poor performance by any means, but again, he can do more. We've seen him play better for Liverpool, and this was a tough one really to come back in because there was no space to work in, so he kind of struggled in that regard. And I would actually say kind of similar about Dominic Szoboszlai. I mean, he creates 3 chances, 93% passing accuracy, but again, that lack of space, he didn't find it easy to create good chances. He's setting up shots, but maybe not in really good areas where Liverpool looked likely to score, so that kind of didn't really happen for him. But I thought he kept at it, but again just wasn't that creative threat, and you could see why the manager was willing to take him off. And he only wins 1 out of his 7 ground duels as well, so that's an aspect that Liverpool would have wanted to do better in there as well, and to make them more dominant in midfield. So we know he can do it, but just wasn't really quite his evening really tonight. But again, similar to Gravenberch, not too bad, but not a great performance, I would say. Now moving to the forwards, and Mohamed Salah obviously had 12 shots against Brighton at the weekend, only manages 3, which I think kind of sums up that he was a little bit quiet today, not as able to get involved, and kind of struggled in that element a little bit, so it didn't kind of work out for him. Only 1 chance created. I actually thought some of his passing from deeper areas early in the game was really promising, and he looked a creative threat from that, but not as involved in the box and around the box as you would be used to. And it was a brave sub from Jurgen Klopp to take him off, but I think it was the right one, and you look at how Liverpool played after he went off, and that would absolutely justify that decision. I mean, it's a rare occasion, isn't it, that we're ever talking about Salah not being at his best, but maybe that was one of the rare occasions that we saw tonight. Now alongside him in the attack, I'll talk about Darwin Núñez. 7 shots, so he's back to his best in terms of just generating shooting opportunities constantly. His goal doesn't come from one of those, it comes from the fact he's closing down the keeper, which again I think summed up his performance a little bit. Not everything came off for him, but his graft was there. He was working hard. He kept going and kept getting himself in positions, and he forces that goal through just pure grit and determination, which is absolutely what you want to see. And again, I said after the Brighton game that even when it's not absolutely happening for him, even though it did a little bit more today in terms of being able to generate shots, but even if he's not quite scoring the goals in those situations, or he's not pulling off brilliant finishes, he doesn't do any harm to Liverpool these days. He's safe in build-up, he battles for the ball, he chases lost causes as he did around the goal. So he's a big team player, and I thought a good contribution from him today, and did really well to help Liverpool over the line. Obviously that goal in the end was key. And I'll finish up the starters now with Luis Diaz, and I thought all the way through the first half in particular looked Liverpool's biggest creative threat really, sort of going either way. Gave Jayden Bogle a bit of a torrid time down that side, and he was only ever undone by the fact that the finish wasn't right, or he couldn't find a man in space because there wasn't a lot of space at all. But he was always creating space for himself to at least get a cross in, or create a pullback. And I thought as good as any Liverpool attacker really played today, and I think that's underlined by the fact he takes 3 shots, 6 chances created, so that shows he was doing an awful lot. And he also, I think he sets up the Mac Allister goal. Maybe is it his shot that falls to Mac Allister, so he gets an assist there, which maybe we'll chalk off. But 4 out of 9 ground duels won, and a 91% passing accuracy as well, so a decent effort I thought from Diaz. And considering the fact he's had some stick in terms of his form over this season, I think he's really growing in importance, and has been really good on both sides of the ball recently, and coming up with crucial moments. So long may that continue, and a very good performance I thought from him today. As I say, probably the best of all the attackers. Now I do want to mention the substitutes before I go, because as I say, I thought they were absolutely crucial in terms of the contribution to the game. Andy Robertson, I'll start with, thought that natural left-footedness down that left-hand side made Liverpool more dangerous in attack. He showed that by driving forward, did that a lot of time. It's a beautiful assist for Gakpo's goal as well, a brilliant cross, and that's the quality it brings. I think a big decision to make around who starts at left-back at Old Trafford, and also I suppose right-back really, with Gomez in the mix there, and I think there's some difficult calls in terms of the full-back roles for that one, but Robertson couldn't have done himself any he's not done himself any harm, I'd say, with his performance as a substitute there, as it assists a crucial goal and looked full of energy as well. And I thought similarly with Harvey Elliott, they both came on around the hour mark and sort of big part of changing things in Liverpool's favour. Harvey Elliott completes 96% of his passes, so it's 23 out of 24 passes, 2 chances created, 2 ground duels won. Again, just gets Liverpool on the front foot in midfield, keeps the ball, uses it well, uses it dangerously, and also is winning it back as well. So absolutely brilliant performance from them two. And I thought similarly for Gakpo and Jones, they come on later, only 17 minutes of the 90 left when they come on, but Curtis Jones I thought was crucial to this. 94% passing accuracy and wins 3 out of 3 duels. It just forced Sheffield United onto the back foot constantly. They were having moments of encouragement in the build up to the goal, and in the sort of 5 or 10 minutes after that as well. That absolutely ceased when Curtis Jones was on the pitch, and similarly with Elliott, Robertson and Gakpo as well. I just thought all the subs just piled the pressure on Sheffield United, and Jones, like I say, just keeping the ball, moving it around, stretching things, and that just absolutely changed the game in Liverpool's favour. And similarly, I want to talk about Gakpo as well, another one who's had so much stick recently. I mean, I picked him in my starting 11 for this game, and people seem to be kind of horrified about that one, didn't really want him to start, but I think he has to be important for Liverpool because they've got so many games between now and the end of the season. He's going to have to play games, and I thought he came on tonight, and I thought again really, really good from him. His form's not been fantastic recently, but he looked he was electric when he came on, really. I mean, the numbers back that up. 13 out of 13 passes completed, 4 shots. I mean, he's only on the pitch for 17 minutes, 3 chances created, 2 out of 3 ground duels won, and he scores a brilliant goal, takes that well, gets over it, heads it down into the ground, as all good strikers do, and it's a great finish. Hopefully that gives him a bit of confidence now that he can take forward, because as I say, he has to be important to Liverpool. They've got so many games coming up, they're going to need everyone in the squad, and definitely attackers coming off the bench late in games or starting games to keep others fresh. Really, really important that Gakpo's in form, and I think that's a massive step forward for him today, as crucial as any of the subs in terms of Liverpool winning. So that is my summary of the game. As ever, I'm going to ask you, let me know in the comments, what did you think? How do you think the game went? Is it a poor performance in Liverpool, but you're happy about the fact that they ground it out and got another win? How are you feeling about it? Who was your man of the match? Always interested to hear. Obviously I picked Alexis Mac Allister, but maybe you will see it differently. Let me know in the comments what you think, and as ever, ask if you can like and subscribe. Always a massive help to the channel, and really the growth it's experiencing at the moment is just kind of blowing me away, and so humbled by it, and so thankful for everyone who watches and engages. Thank you so much for that. I really, really appreciate it. And of course, got build up to the big one at the weekend coming up, Manchester United, and obviously coverage of the press conference and then coverage of the game. So stay tuned for that, and I'll see you guys very soon.